All right, guys, look at that. So it's been like about 2 minutes literally since we started this portion of step 4, and it's loaded 9,700 movies, 9,700 links, over 100,000 movie ratings, and over 3,000 movie tags. That's pretty absurd, guys. What's going on, guys? Kevin here. I want to paint a quick example for you. So I'm sure you guys have seen something like this before, just your normal CSV of a ton of data. And in this example, we're looking at a CSV file of over 180,000 movies. In our typical day-to-day lives, we want to use these CSV files to learn important information, look at analytics, and actually potentially just find something novel inside of this data set. So the next logical decision is to throw all of this information inside of a database. But previously, before this AI revolution, we had to build our own database schemas, design the table, and actually understand how the information is stored. And that's before even doing any type of data analysis itself, which is a big waste of time in the big 2026. So like, what if you could just skip all of that, feed tens of thousands of lines worth of data to an AI agent and have it spin up its own database completely for free, completely autonomously? In this video, we're going to take this data set that I'm showing you right here from Movie Lens, and we're going to do just that. This data set comes with 4 important files, and that's going to help us answer any question that we want. It has links to all the movies, the actual movie titles and release dates, the ratings, and all of the tags associated. And so instead of us having to design the actual database schema, we're going to give it 3 questions that we want it to answer. The first question is a list of the best performing movies out of all 180,000 films. The next one is based on my personality and my interests. What movies does this agent recommend based on the information in the database? And lastly, what were the worst performing movies of all time? You guys get to join me step by step. We're going to build this out with the ghost.build database. Let's get into it. So before we move any further, I want to just quickly explain what the Ghost database actually is and why we're using it. So it's going to do all of the heavy lifting that you guys are going to see in this video. I know how to build database tables and schemas, but using something like the Ghost, it's going to make things a lot quicker. And I'm not going to actually give it any instructions. I'm just going to give it the goals that I said earlier in this video, which is finding the best movies, the worst movies, and then the movies that it recommends. But just like any other database that we're paying a lot more for, like the Supabase Postgres database, it uses the exact same infrastructure, which is the Postgres infrastructure and the SQL command lines. So you can literally migrate other databases over to Ghost completely for free as well. But the real advantage here, and the reason why I want to go full screen for this, is that every single one of your AI agents might have their own specialized use case. And so in this example, this is like our movie reviewing agent that will have only this data set in its database. Previously, we would be sharing multiple agents inside of the same database. And so when we're querying or sending questions to that database, that's going to spend a lot of tokens. It's going to spend a lot of time for the agent to actually find the information that you want. And it potentially might not be able to find the correct information due to all of that excess information, excess data. When you have Ghost, every single one of your specialized agents can have their own specific, unique database. Now, if you want to know everything about the docs and the API calls that your agent can do through the MCP with Ghost, then you can check out the docs here as well. But essentially, the way that the pricing works here is every 15 minutes, the Ghost backend is going to check if any API calls were made. It's going to use that in your free tier. You're given 100 compute hours for free every single month, and a terabyte or 1,000 gigabytes worth of data completely for free. For you to exceed that, you would have to literally download and store like thousands of actual movies, not just the docs or the information that you're seeing here. This example can be replicated like a million times for free inside of Ghost, which is why it's so powerful. All right, guys, so now that we know exactly how this entire thing is going to work with the Ghost database, let's go through what the tutorial is actually going to look like. Our work really needs 3 steps before we hand everything off to the agent, which is going to show you guys how to actually get the Ghost database set up with any type of agent that you use, whether it's Claude Code, whether it's Cursor, Windsurf, Anti-Gravity. If you're new to the channel, I like using Claude Code inside of Cursor because then we can spin up multiple Claude Code agents at the same time, which saves a lot of time. And it just is a lot of fun in that way. From there, we're going to log into our Ghost account, and then we're going to set Claude up with the Ghost MCP server so that our agent can do all of the heavy lifting for us. From there, we're going to just tell the agent to download the movie lens dataset that I showed you guys at the beginning of the video. We're going to make sure that all of the dependencies are installed, specifically this dependency called PSQL, which is a command line tool that is going to be used for the agent to actually read all of these different CSV files really quick. Once it has the data and we've integrated the database, we can actually just tell the agent to use the data to build out the database in any way that it thinks it should and load in all of the data from the files. And from there, guys, we can ask it those 3 important questions to see whether or not the Ghost DB actually did everything correctly or not. So without further ado, let's start with step 1, which is setting up the Ghost CLI. So if we land back on the ghost.build website, it is literally just this curl command that you want to copy to your clipboard, and then you want to open up whatever AI builder that you're using. So for me, inside of Cursor, I'm going to click Open Project. I'm going to call this the Movie Lens Ghost agent. So the first thing that we want to do is open up the terminal. And in the top right corner, there's the toggle panel to do just that. And here's where we can actually start putting in commands. And the first command is going to be that curl command so that we install the Ghost build agent inside of this working environment. All we have to do is literally paste it and hit enter. And we should see this cool little Ghost animation come across the screen. Now, personally, since I've been using Ghost for a while, I am fully logged in, but if you're not logged in, the next command that you want to run is ghost space login, and that should bring up a third browser for you to actually sign in, which should look something like this. Once you have this green check mark, you can go back to your AI app builder and you know that you are fully connected. Now, the next step is obviously pulling in our AI model. So we're gonna just type in Claude to pull in Claude code, and we're gonna choose our AI model and we're gonna let it trust all of the folders inside of this repository. Now, inside of Claude code, you have a bunch of slash commands. And one of the best slash commands for this use case is to see whether or not we're actually connected to any MCP servers. So we're going to run the /MCP command, and that's going to show me that I'm connected to the Ghost MCP server. Now guys, one other tip, if you've installed the Ghost CLI and then you ran the MCP command and you don't see the Ghost MCP as an option, that just typically means you need to restart your Claude Code agent so that it picks it up. And so we're going to do another slash command, and that is the /exit command, which literally cancels your agent out of that session, and you can restart fresh and it'll pull in that new MCP server that it's added to its configuration. So now if I type in Claude and I go /MCP, I'll be able to see the Ghost MCP server connected with 26 tool calls. You can go on a little deep dive here and see what all the tool calls are. But again, we don't really need to worry about any of that anymore because the agent has gotten so good at building its own database. Now that I know it's connected, I know that we're good to go. We've essentially done all of like the human setup, and we're just going to now basically talk in very simple English to the agent to get everything else that I spoke about set up and understood and stored in the database. So the first thing we needed to do is actually download the Movie Lens dataset. And so that dataset lives at this URL, which I'll be linking in the description down below. And I'm not even going to tell the agent exactly which one. I'm just going to say to look for the 1 megabyte file size, and we're going to see how it does with that. So I'll just quickly snap my fingers and I'll read out this prompt. So I pasted in the link to where that download was available. And I said that we want to download the Movie Lens latest small dataset to this project. Please do that for me right now. And we'll send that in. So guys, while that's happening, we want to make sure that we have the PSQL command line installed. If not, the way that the data is going to get stored into the database won't be that clean because the agent can't directly see CSV files that are sitting on your local machine. But when it uses the PSQL, it has a special command called the \copy that will then streamline the local file up to the server in one shot. And so for me to check whether or not that's installed, I opened up a new terminal above the Claude chat, and I just want to write install space PSQL. And so when I ran that command, we could see that it says it wasn't found, which most likely means that the agent in the bottom of the chat needs to actually go ahead and install that for us. So that's my next prompt here. Prompt is literally just, is PSQL installed? If not, please install it for me. So the agent ran a check as well, and it saw that it was not installed yet. So now it's just going to go ahead and do whatever it needs to install it into this project root. All right, there we go. So agent goes done. PSQL version 18.4 is installed and it's working. So that is step 3 in getting this entire workflow set up. And the last step here, guys, is to just tell the agent to create the database in the best way possible to load all of that movie information into it. And then we could just start firing off questions. So again, I'm going to snap my fingers and I'll read out the prompt. Actually, I don't even have to snap my fingers. That is exactly the prompt. I'm going to tell the agent to read the data and store it into the database. That is literally it. So we sent in that prompt, and now I want to show you guys all of the tool calls that the MCP server can actually do with the Ghost database. So the agent goes, let me load the Ghost tools with a keyword search. So the first tool that it's doing is some type of word discovery. Now it goes, data has been understood. Let me design the schema. The movie lens data is relational, meaning certain data points are related to other data points in other files. And so it's going to do kind of a little bit of juggling, which is what a developer typically would do, is looking at the data, seeing how it should be stored, and then kind of doing both at the same time while reviewing its work. So just as I was saying, it pulled in all 4 files simultaneously. So it pulled in the actual movies, the links, the ratings, and the IMDb. This message here from the agent is a sign of the PSQL actually being used. So the agent says, I will bulk load all of this information using PSQL inside of the database, which is going to be far faster than having to manually insert 100,000 rows of data. All right, guys, look at that. So it's been like about 2 minutes literally since we started this portion of step 4, and it's loaded 9,700 movies, 9,700 links, over 100,000 movie ratings, and over 3,000 movie tags. That's pretty absurd, guys. Now what we're seeing on the screen is the ASCII formatted database schema, so we can actually see what's going on. So we can see like certain users rated a bunch of movies simultaneously, and then they also gave tags, and then those tags are all associated to the same movie, which has a title and a year that is parsed out, as well as all of the links that are tied to the movies, like the IMDb links, and the movie genres. So we have a full database schema. And let's say I didn't know how to build a database, that would be amazing to have. And so now that we know that the database is fully loaded with all of these ratings, we can run it through the 3 questions. So the first question is, based on all of the movies in the set, what is the highest 5 rated movies? All right, so the agent did another pretty absurd thing here. It only used movies that had over 50 ratings so that it had enough of a sample size to actually see whether or not these movies had a high rating. And actually the top 3 movies that it ranked here are part of the top 5 movies of all time on Rotten Tomatoes and a bunch of other platforms. So it put The Shawshank Redemption at number 1, Godfather at number 2, and Fight Club at number 3, which are all notoriously famously high rated movies. And it gave us the average rating and the number of people that gave these movies a rating. So in my opinion, that's pretty freaking solid. Let's do the opposite now. Let's find the 5 worst movies. All right, so then we get the Wild Wild West, Coneheads, City Stickers, Judge Dredd, and Johnny Mnemonic. I don't know any of these movies. Once again, very low ratings as well. And now, guys, the last question we have to ask is just the 5 movie recommendations based on who I am and my personality. So let's send that in and let's see what we get. All right, guys. So I said, based on what you know about me and the best rated movies in the list, what 5 movies do you recommend? Now, this is very subjective, so I can really only answer whether or not it's accurate here. So we're about to find out. All right, guys. So as someone that's been big into tech, big into sci-fi, big into action, big into finance, big into sports, this thing got it pretty damn accurate. Okay. So The Matrix is in the top 5 movies for me all time. The Wolf of Wall Street is in top 5 all time. And then it also gave me some other strong runners up. And The Social Network is in my top 5 all time. And Rocky Balboa is in top 10 all time for me personally. So that's pretty solid. And these movies are only from 2018 to 1996. So there's still a bunch of movies in the past 8 years that I also absolutely love that are not listed on here. So I like to say that that's pretty freaking accurate. And so what just happened there? We built a specific agent that can learn about my personality and the movie sets of over 100,000 movies. It can then tell me exactly what it recommends. And that database was built with Ghost. And that's where our team over at Ghost built the database for agents, because you're going to be seeing on this channel that there's a whole lot of different use cases that the Ghost database can be used for with specific vertical agents. On this channel, guys, we're gonna be making a lot more. And if you wanna get started with Ghost, then check out ghost.build. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.